So it was 2006, Sunday morning. I would wake up probably around 10 a.m. because it was Sunday and it was the NFL countdown shows would be on. So I would watch the countdown in preparation for the games. I'd be incredibly hungover from the night before, going out and partying. And 10 a.m., like I never saw 10 a.m. unless it was a Sunday. Maybe it was 11 a.m. But even 11 a.m., if it wasn't a Sunday, I didn't see it. So I'd stay in bed, watch the countdown show. The Giants would kick off at 1 o'clock, so I'd really stay in bed until about 1 p.m. I'd watch probably the first quarter, still in bed. And then I would get up, change, brush my teeth, do the whole thing. Go downstairs and watch the rest of the game. During the game, once halftime hit, I would whip up a nice deli sandwich from the cold cuts that my parents had set on the table. If you have an Italian family, you know what I'm talking about. So I would hit up a sandwich, maybe two, during halftime, back to the games. Once the Giants were over, and by the way, I was a fucking lunatic back then. When I look back, I actually cringe when I think about the things listen, I was very passionate. I was a very passionate fan. But the fact that the New York Giants impacted my life as much as they did, I'm kind of embarrassed about. Because if they lost, I would be pissed off until they played next week. If I was happy, I was on or if they won, I would be on cloud nine. And it's very odd thinking back, and I would always say, yeah, we won, or we had this loss. We could have done better in the fourth quarter. Dude, what is we? It's they. They are playing. I'm fucking watching the game with my fat ass on the couch eating salami sandwiches. I didn't do shit, okay? So when you say we, if you're listening to this show right now and you're like, yeah, I think we're going to do good this year. You ain't doing shit. They are either going to do good or bad, but I digress. So anyway, I would be either pissed off or incredibly happy. And then the 4 o'clock games would hit. And maybe during the 4 o'clock games, I might have a drink or two. And by the time halftime hit for the 4 o'clock games, then it was time for pasta and meatballs. Whatever else my mom was whipping up. So I'd crush giant bowls of pasta with ricotta cheese, Parmesan cheese, all types of meatballs, probably a little bit more bread. I'd hit a little bit of a food coma. I'd watch the rest of the games. Maybe friends were over, maybe they weren't. Then I'd probably pass out from the all the food and possibly booze that I was indulging. But then the night games were on. So, I was watching all the fucking night game, right? So we'd watch the pregame show. Then the game would be over around 11:30-ish, sometimes midnight. But that did not end my day of football. I would then take my fat ass into my 1998 aqua blue Acura 2.3 CL with tinted windows, no horn, and no radio, by the way. I would drive my fat ass over to Taco Bell, Wendy's, Mickey D's. If I really wanted to get nuts, I would go to White Castle. Maybe I would be with a friend or a girlfriend at the time. And we would then go back to my place. We would watch all of the highlights on SportsCenter as I stuffed my face with one of those options that I just mentioned. After I would watch the highlights until, I don't know, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., well, then it was time to watch a movie. Or for you MMA fans, if you remember WEC Wreckage, that would be on in the middle of the night. I would watch that. Or I would watch a movie. Or the big one for me was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because I would watch Fresh Prince over and over and over again in the middle of the night. Around 5 a.m., I would pass out. Then it was Monday, so I really had no desire or interest in waking up anytime before 3 p.m. So I would get up at 3, and maybe I would go over to the gym that I was working at. At the time, it was Bally's Total Fitness in Springfield, New Jersey. Or I would hit up some of my friends that were working there, and I would say, hey, do me a favor, clock me in, and I'll be in later to train my clients, because you would get paid for these prospecting hours. And I was too lazy to bring my fat ass over there. So I'd have my friends punch me in so I could get paid. Then it was Monday night. So we'd watch Monday Night Football, and the process would be repeated. Now, a lot of those days, I realized that I didn't want to get out of bed. I wasn't suicidal, but I was definitely in a depression. You know, I was using football, I was using food, I was using booze to cope with all the shit that was happening at home. If you guys been listening to the show for a while, you know that I've had drug addiction in my family. My older brother, Michael, addicted to drugs, coke, heroin, painkillers, Xanax, alcohol, you name it. 20 years of that shit. And at the time, I was, 19 or 20. And that was my way of coping, because I was pissed off, I was scared, I was hurt. There was a lot of fighting at home, fighting with my brother and my father and my mom, and, you know, what's he going to do next? Let's stay ahead of his next move. Let's try to fight the drug dealers. Let's try to sabotage the drug deal. Let's try to prevent him from getting the drugs. So a lot of my day was spent worrying about that. And I never spent time really caring about myself. Sure, I loved training. But it would be like an hour of me training hard and saying I have to eat to get big, when I was really eating to get fat. It was an excuse for me to eat shit. But that was it. It was like 60 minutes of work during a training session, because I wanted to get jacked, I wanted to get strong, but I wasn't really getting out of it. Let me take that back. Maybe at the time I was getting out of it what I needed. Maybe it was a way for me to get those demons out, and I did still enjoy training. But the rest of my life was a fucking mess. So there are days where I wouldn't want to get out of my bed. I wouldn't want to wake up. I had no desire to. Nothing excited me, wasn't interested in anything outside of getting my workout in sometime later in the day. 7 o'clock, whatever it was. So it got to a point where I had family, Johnny Al, who's been on the podcast several times, tell me, he would constantly talk to me and say, dude, you can't fucking live your life like this. What are you doing? You're going nowhere fast. You're getting fatter. At the time, now we're getting closer to 2007. I'm 200 pounds. For those of you who know me, that I'm 5'9" on a good day. Right now, I walk around 170, but I was about 200 pounds back then. drinking all the time and living my life the way I just expressed. And so he would say, you're going nowhere fast. You're only digging a deeper hole for yourself. You're not fixing your brother's issues. You can't fix this problem. You can't fix your family and what's going on here and the way they're handling it. You could try to talk to them. You could try to influence, but there's only so much you can do before you drive yourself fucking insane. And I would hear it, and I wouldn't do much with it. And at the time, around 2006, so since I was 18, I started going to therapy. I was always open to the idea because I was trying to do anything that I thought would potentially help my brother. But I did not think that going to see a therapist was anything that I needed. I thought I was fine. I was just going because I was trying to solve my brother's problems, right? Well, thank God I had that mindset because at least it got me there. And so I had a great therapist who I still see to this day. Her name's Martine. She's amazing. And she helped me realize a lot about myself. She helped me along with some friends and my family, obviously, my cousin. Helped me realize a lot of the things that I didn't like about myself and a lot of things that I thought that I was kind of self-righteous. That, I was just living in a way that I was sabotaging myself just like my brother was, just like my dad was. I was really no different. I was just using different outlets. So I started to understand a lot more about myself, a lot more about the way human beings think and operate through therapy. And I always enjoyed psychology. So I was never too reluctant to go. I actually enjoyed it. So as things started to click over the years, it was later in 2007, or what point in 2007? Early 2007, actually. I had some good friends that were dieting and they were getting leaner and they started to get abs. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, I've been training for a long time and I don't have abs and I know more about training than these guys, maybe it's my ego there. But I was, I was diving into training, right? Especially on the performance side of things and hypertrophy side of things. Like I wanted to get bigger, I wanted to get jacked, I wanted to get faster. And I was, working with some athletes at the time. So I'm like, I got to start to look the part, right? So I started to feel a certain way about it. And then I had some other friends who were like, hey, so-and-so is getting pretty shredded. We should do something. We should do like a really, deep cut. We should do a hard diet and get shredded for the summer. And at the time, I'm drinking, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I'm waking up at 3 p.m. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this dieting thing. I want to get big, And reluctantly, I said, all right, let's do it. So this was in either late January or February. I think it was February of 2007. So my friends and I decided to do this cut. And I lost some weight. I would cheat. In the middle of the night, I remember going to find my mom's pasta that was in there. And I'll make some progress, and I would cheat. And I would make some progress, and I would cheat. So I kind of got to a point where maybe I lost 15 pounds or so. And I was like, yeah, I feel pretty good. And, I was making excuses for the fucking binge cheat meals that I would have every so often in the middle of the night, like a crackhead myself. I would go there at 3 o'clock in the morning and start eating pasta. So one of my buddies then came home from school. Because don't forget, at this time, I was 20. One of my buddies comes home from school. One of the guys that was that I told you about, his name's Darius, that was actually doing the cut himself before I was. And he pulled up his shirt, and I'll never forget, his abs were fucking shredded. And I was like, yo, you are shredded, man. What the fuck are you doing? And that's where it clicked, where I was like, okay, I got to make this happen too. So maybe that was sometime in March, let's just say. From that moment on, I said, there's no more fucking around. I got to get that shredded. So there was no more cheats. I stepped up my diet even more. I stepped up my training even more. I was training harder. I got more creative with my programs. I then, like I said, my diet was locked the fuck in. I decided no more alcohol at that point because I want to get as shredded as possible. So I cut out the booze. And throughout those next few months, my birthday was May 14th. I dieted through my birthday and it was my 21st birthday. So I didn't even have a drink on my 21st. Because I think my birthday that year, I want to say was a Thursday. And I was doing a photo shoot on a Saturday. And that was like the big thing. I was doing my cousin was launching a new website. And so I was doing like a before and after photo thing for him. And I was like, I want to be as shredded as possible for this photo shoot. So went through my 21st birthday, got shredded. Okay. Now, through this process, this is the big message today, guys. Because through that process, it wasn't just about getting shredded. It's about who I became in the process. I started that journey as a fat, lazy, self-righteous piece of shit in many ways. And on the other side, I became confident. I developed structure. I all of a sudden had this newfound passion for training and fitness, and I'll tell you why. The coping skills that I learned, that I developed through this process to help cope with the things that were going on in my home and my brother's addiction and my family fighting and all the shit over the years that has been led to this point. The fear, the worry, the anger, the doubt, the fucking explosive, violent, whether it be fist fights with my brother or verbal fights with my father, all that shit building up over the years, it started to seem less significant to me. I had a goal that I was working on for myself. I was focused on me for the first time probably since I was a kid. I wasn't focused on the outside noise. I was focused on the one fucking person that I could control, and that was myself. It helped me deal with the pain I was in. It helped me deal with the anger that was fucking burning inside of me. It helped me in so many ways. And even the way I was able to speak to people. You know, before that, I was this, like, I lacked confidence. I couldn't make eye contact. I was like a mush mouth. You know, I wouldn't really speak. I didn't really care. I wasn't interested in other people. I wasn't interested in their thoughts or their beliefs. It was only about me. And throughout this experience, it got me to open up to more people. It got me to communicate better. It got me to understand people at a different level and hear them and see and understand that they're going through some shit, right? A lot of my clients at the time, I didn't realize, hey, like everybody's got some shit. And what I found was that I now had this new burning desire to help people heal. Maybe I didn't know it was helping them heal at the time, but looking back and knowing what I know now about who I am, what I get most fired up about is helping people heal their demons, their wounds, their scars. Fitness is just the way that I help people get there. With that said, because of that period that I went through, and now I have this new desire to help people. Well, that then led to me in 2008 saying, I think I'm going to start my own training business. And I'm going to find a place that I could rent space out of. I'm going to call it Tutela Training Systems because I was a big fan, and let's face it, I guess I was a biter off of Joe DeFranco, just like most gym owners that were growing up, or not gym owners, trainers that were growing up in the industry. We all, idolized Joe D, who very fortunate that he is now my business partner. Things come full circle. But I called it Tutela Training Systems, and I found a small little gym in Clark called East Coast Conditioning after looking at several other gyms, and asked, could I pay you rent and kind of build my clientele? Sure, we worked out a deal. So then I started handing out flyers. I started making videos. I started doing all these things to promote the business. We started to grow. After a couple of years, East Coast Conditioning moved to the neighboring town. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to open up my own place. There was a vacant storefront just a couple doors down from where I was. So I decided to lock that down and have my first physical location. The reason that I'm sharing that with you, because I think you guys know now if you're listening to the show, Tutela Training Systems, we just hit our 12th year in business. We have just about 200 members training with us. We have 6 employees on our staff. We have a handful of interns. None of that is possible. None of that is possible if I did not go through what I went through back in 2006, 2007. That transformation, physically, what I thought was physically, or what I thought was physical, combined with the therapy that I was going through, learning about myself, learning about human behavior, learning about psychology. If it weren't for those two things, and by the way, those two things never stopped. They just kept going. Still speak to my therapist. Still train, obviously. Still love nutrition and eat well. If those things don't happen, nothing else happens. Okay? Fitness is the gateway drug, or the gateway, let's call it, to the transformation that you seek. Because I know that you might only look at it right now as getting jacked or getting shredded, or ladies getting toned, or building a bigger booty, firmer booty, whatever the fuck you want to do. And that's great. And all that stuff, yes, it's going to help. in many areas of life, right? And your health improves and all these things. But man, a big buzzword right now is personal development, right? Self-improvement, self-help, that whole space, right? There's all these self-help books, and they're all great. You know, a lot of them are great. I've read a lot of them. Probably read most of them. But there is no greater teacher than going through this process for yourself. Because through this process, you're going to have to develop discipline. You know the saying, it's overused, but you've heard it a million times if you know who Jocko Willink is. That discipline equals freedom. And I could not agree with that anymore. The discipline that you develop from showing up to the gym and training when you don't feel like it. The discipline that you develop from controlling what you put down your fucking throat for months or weeks at a time is the greatest gift that you can give yourself. Because once you learn that you could control yourself and your actions, that bleeds over into every area of your life. That will then give you confidence. That will then give you maybe a newfound passion. Like it did for me. What I want you guys to take away from this, from my story, is that going through that physical change and going through that process helped me find myself. It helped me realize, like, you know, people say, find your passion. Well, maybe I found it, or maybe my passion or my purpose, what I feel that is in life, maybe it was just forged. Maybe it was cultivated through that process. And I think a lot of us go through life feeling a lack of purpose, a lack of fulfillment, a lack of joy. We're not fulfilled. We don't love our work. We're bored. And then when I have clients and we're having these conversations, one thing I always say, like, the first thing that I look at is like, how are you treating yourself? Like, let's start with you. How are you treating yourself? Are you taking care of yourself physically? Are you taking care of your training? Are you taking care of your nutrition? Are you getting sleep? Are you getting sunlight? Are you getting movement? What are you eating? Are we eating a bunch of processed, refined shit? Or are you eating nutrient-dense, real food? Because that's the foundation, guys. If you're suffering right now, if you're struggling, if you're going through something, well, if you're trying to put the cart before the horse and you're trying to fix something that you might not be ready for or be able to fully embrace, it's going to be hard to sustain that. You need to fix yourself first, just like I needed to fix myself. Your success in life, and I really believe this, that your success in life is only going to go as far as your personal development. If you're building a business, or if you're trying to climb the corporate ladder, or whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to deal with adversity. There's going to be highs and lows. And if you're not emotionally resilient enough to deal with the lows, if you don't understand yourself enough to deal with the lows, then odds are you're going to crumble. Back in 2022, All right, let's start here. Let's start in 2020. So in 2020, first off, even leading up to that, from in 2013 up until 2020, my dad was bedridden. Never wanted to handle the fact that his son was a drug addict, that my mom left him, that sometimes, frankly, he was a dick. Never wanted to accept that. Lost his job, lost his family. He couldn't handle the stress. Didn't take care of himself whatsoever. He was diabetic, didn't take care of it. High blood pressure, didn't take care of it. High cholesterol, didn't take care of it. What happens, guys, the body starts to shut down, especially with diabetes. You start to develop neuropathy, and he started to fall in the fall of 2013. He started to lose control of his bowels. So we got him to my aunt's house, who lived in the neighboring town, because I had an uncle who passed away who was quadriplegic. So it actually worked out for my dad because it was a one-level thing. But he never got up anyway. Literally stayed in bed from 2013 until 2020. And I mean, he left by ambulance from time to time to go to the doctor or whatever if something happened. But for 7 years, he was in that fucking bed, smoking cigarette after cigarette, continuing to eat shit, not taking care of himself. It was another hard, very difficult thing for me to deal with as a son who loved him, who wanted him to, because some of that stuff was reversible. We could have even put him in a wheelchair and taken him outside just to get some fresh air. Refused it. Wouldn't let us do it. So there wasn't much more we could do. And so through that time, 2020 hits. Business is going great. I meet Gab, the love of my life. We're traveling the world. Business is going good. Launched another business, an online coaching business. Things were going really great. And we all know what happens next. COVID hits. And the fucking world is shut down. Oh, fuck. And that was like, I don't know, 3 months after I moved into a new apartment, got a new car, COVID hits. Fuck. All right. We got to solve this problem. If not for the emotional resilience, what I've learned about fitness, what I've learned about myself, through the passion, through everything that I went through, we don't survive COVID. I'll tell you that much. And of course, giving credit where credit is due to my amazing team who I had at the time, who was helping out tremendously, and all of the amazing members. I proudly say that through COVID, we were able to retain 60% of our memberships. And listen, losing 40% sucks, but retaining 60 is also pretty fucking good, considering that we couldn't open a gym. We were just doing all virtual workouts, all body weight at home stuff. We got creative. We did meetups virtually, and we did all that shit. But what drove that was the passion. I knew that people needed that. They needed those Zoom workouts. They needed those Zoom meetups. They needed that. We're a family. They needed to be a part of something. And we were aware of that. So we made it happen. But on the negative side, I was losing 40% of my income, trying to still pay employees and handle all that stuff. Then we survived it. We got through. We opened for outdoor training once we were approved and fucking took off. But then October of 2020, lost my head coach, who's also one of my best friends. We parted ways. So that, affected TTS. It affected me personally. There's a few things going on there. Then November of 2020, my dad dies. All right. COVID, losing my head coach and friend, now losing my dad. All right. This sucks. Let's deal with it. We'll get through it. We came together as a family. Friends were there to support. Got through it. Now, we have new trainers coming on board. We have new, a lot of changes, a lot of different things. All right, cool. We're just starting to get some steam again. Then in the summer of 2021, we move into a bigger location. We move into that bigger location. Things are going great. Have some new people on the team. I think that they're going great. And on a Sunday, I had two coaches. And on a Sunday, one of the main ones, or there's only two. So he was going to be he was handling sales and doing some stuff outside of just the training sessions. He quits. Just so happened to be the same time where the other guy, James, was taking the first vacation that he took in like 5 years of being with us. So now I have no coaches. And tomorrow's Monday. Fuck. All right. What do we do? Well, we try to salvage and see what's going on with the guy who quit. Let's try to make it work. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if he can get back in. Maybe he's just pissed about something. We'll figure it out. We didn't figure it out. He was done. And we then had to let our members know. And once we let our members know, and I had to jump back into some training sessions because I was not prepared. I was running sessions. Gab was running sessions. We had an intern that we threw to the wolves. She was running sessions. Members got pissed because they loved the guy who quit. So we had members that were quitting, canceling their memberships. It was a friggin' nightmare. And then like a month or so later, we had one of the members, we'll call him Cunt Muscle. He got really cunty and he started crying and causing a big stink and headaches and was getting lawyers involved. It was just a friggin', I won't go too deep into the details, but fucking guy. Anyway, he created a big stink. That went on for like a month or two. And so that was like a really shitty period. And we were going through it, right? Guys, why do I share all this with you? I'm not just up here venting. But I want you to see that life is not just all sunshine and rainbows. I know that might be the message that you get on social media. That's, I got to live my best life. I'm going to work an hour a day from my laptop on the beach, and there's going to be palm trees, and everything is beautiful. And yeah, that's great. That's great. And once in a while, sure, maybe you get a day you can work from your laptop, maybe 2 days, maybe a week. But at some point, shit's going to hit the fan. And when it does, are you going to be ready for it? And I'm not just talking about you gym owners or business owners. I'm talking to you as a person, as an individual listening to this right now. If you're a man, if you're a woman, doesn't make a fucking difference. What matters is you going through this human experience. Are you prepared for the shit that life will eventually throw at you, the twists and the turns? Now, can we be fully prepared for every single tragedy and disaster? Of course not. Of course, our hearts get ripped out from time to time. Of course, there's shit that's like, fuck, we did not see this coming. Nobody saw it coming, but it happened. And that's life, unfortunately. That's the unfortunate side of life. If you've never had to deal with anything like that, good. Hopefully you never have to, but you probably will at some point. Are you ready for it? Are you prepared for it when it happens? Are you strong enough physically, mentally, and emotionally? If you have to protect your family, are you physically fit enough to do so? If shit really hits the fan, which I know may seem like a stretch, it may seem like an extreme example, but there's crazy people out there. You might have to fucking throw down in the middle of a street at dinner to protect your family. I was in Venice in 2021 when the restaurants it was only outdoor dining. And Gab and I were having dinner at a high-end steakhouse, right? A place where you wouldn't think shit would go down. But I had a fucking a homeless dude with face tattoos that was sweating profusely across the street, staring dead at me, banging a trash can, okay? And staring at me and like screaming and making noises. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this crazy motherfucker is going to sprint at me and shit's going to go down and I'm going to have to fucking throw down with this crazy homeless dude that may have a needle on him, may have a knife, may have a fucking, I don't know what this guy's got. The last thing I want to do is fight that crazy homeless guy. But he starts making his way over and I'm saying, oh shit. And the first thing I did was grab my steak knife. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck. I'm piercing this guy's heart with this knife if he's trying to attack us. My point is, you don't know what people are going to do. There are crazy people out there, my friends. And so you got to be ready when or if shit goes down, because it might. Okay, so that's physically. Or what if there's a natural disaster? Are you physically fit enough? Like, hey, there's no power there. Your car's stuck. You got to be on the move. You got to be able to ruck. You got to be able to lift your kids, carry them to safety. Can you do it? Or are you going to get tired, or are you too weak to perform the task? What about mentally and emotionally? Are you prepared? Are you working on yourself? Are you speaking to a therapist or doing some form of meditation or breath work or journaling, or go join some groups that this is their specialty, where they specialize in personal development and helping you overcome the shit that you've been through, your fears, your trauma, and all the shit that we all have. Fitness is your gateway to all of this. It opens up those doors. And when those doors open, you become a new fucking person. Now, if you did something for 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 6 months or a year, but then you stop, you don't make any more progress. You still are limiting your growth. So this is an ongoing process, my friends. This is an ongoing thing that never fucking stops. You got to just figure out ways to get better, to move the needle in your fitness, in your relationships, in your family, your finances, your freedom, your fun. You have to look at these different areas and buckets of life and look at ways for you to level up. Because I'll tell you what, fitness is not the only part of this. We all know the insecure meatheads. I was one of them, right? There's people, they might look jacked out of their mind, they're shredded, but they're incredibly insecure, which is why we all started training to begin with. We felt insecure and we wanted to feel more significant, so we wanted to put on muscle, right? That's probably why, especially young men, that's why we all start training in the first place. So it's not just about fitness. Fitness is a big part of it, and it's a gateway. But what about these other areas? What are you leaving on the table? Are you working on yourself on all these different areas? And if the answer is no, well, this is your reminder. This is your message to get off of your fucking ass and go put in the work. I love and appreciate you guys. Thank you as always for tuning in. It means more to me than you will ever know that you give me the opportunity to live my passion and help you guys heal through strength. I'll catch you guys next week.